Good morning, folks. My name's Dan from the Rose Family Homestead, and I want to make a video today showcasing some containment options for you new pig keepers. Now, I am by no means professional. I'm towards the end of the second batch of pigs that I have raised. However, I have had my hands on 3 different containment options that I can speak with a little bit of experience to maybe help some of you new folks make some good decisions on how to begin your journey into keeping these pigs. Okay, so in our first year, we raised 2 pigs within the confinement of this pig port. It's a simple carport purchased from, you can get it from Tractor Supply, Harbor Freight, places like that, around $100. And then we contained the sides in with some hog panels, a little bit of roofing to help keep a bedding system in there. So I'll take you around, kind of show you the construction of this, and this is an option for you guys. All right, as you guys can see, the structure is nothing fancy whatsoever. It's just simply housed in some hog panels around the outside. Actually, I believe these are cow panels even. The hog panels typically have smaller openings at the bottom. But this side here originally would have had another wall, and we raised 2 pigs in here last year for the duration of their grow out. Now, some of the improvements I had to make over time was as we got rain and a load of leaves on top from this tree, we began holding water on top, so I had to attach some support panels just to allow water runoff. Around the outside, there's some roofing material. You can get at Lowe's, and all that to do, the whole reason for that was whenever we would put mulch down and sawdust and whatnot, just so that it wouldn't spill out from in between the openings in the hog panels there. Now, of course, on this end, we had to build a gate in order to get in, to feed the pigs, shovel out their manure. And all this is just a simple block latch that opens up, and then that allows us to just step over. It doesn't completely open because the pigs will root up and they will push dirt against this lower half. Now, I did make it so it can open. There's another block latch there and it can swing open. And the main reason I did that was we actually dispatched the 2 pigs in here, and it made it easier if we had to drag them out. We didn't have to pick them up over this. We could still get them out relatively easy once we open this lower one. Latching the gate is rather simple. It's just a screw through the center of it. You just rotate the block and then it can't come open. Nothing to it. Very easy. So the pigs still use this as a shade structure, and then I still have their water in here. They still have access to get to this as I've moved them out to pasture. I've got 2 different options for you guys as far as getting them out on grass. They want to be in the video here. They're chewing on my shoes, chewing on me. But I'll show you those 2 options for getting them out on the grass as well. Okay, so this year we wanted to raise more pigs. We have 5 pigs this year. So I was going to need a larger area to get the pigs into. Ultimately, I wanted to get them out on pasture. So I had to come up with a way to start getting them where I can move them around on pasture, and we had to start training them to electric. So when training pigs to electric, all I did was I ran a single wire. I stepped some cheap posts in around the inside of this here while it was still contained, and I run a single wire around 3 sides of this. In here is where they learned how to respect electricity. So what happens when a pig is learning how to respect the electric wire? So the initial reaction whenever a pig gets hit with an electric shock is to charge forward. So during their training period, you need to have them inside of an area where there's a physical barrier that they cannot charge forward whenever they get zapped. So what would happen is they would get hit, they'd bump into the fence, Not very hard, just lightly. They'd go to move forward. I realize I can't move forward, and they'd simply back up. What did you find? So then after about usually 2-3 days of electric wire training inside the confines of their pen, they were ready to come out here on the pasture. Enter the Premier One Pig Quick Fence. Now this fencing gave us the ability to start moving pigs out on grass, which, like I say, was our big goal for this year. It has held up well. It's a little pricey. You buy this in 100-foot lengths or 50-foot lengths. 100 foot is about $100. I have 2 of those sections here in order to make this perimeter. Now this particular model of fence is 30 inches tall, and it has support posts like these every 12 feet. This particular model uses a single spike post. These are pretty thick, heavy duty. Recommend using a rubber mallet in order to put them in. Alright, now this is one of the most important pieces to this puzzle. And that's going to be your fence energizer. This one here is by Premier One. It's called their Energizer 120X Energizer. This particular Energizer, the 120X, puts off 1.2 joules. It has 2 batteries contained inside of its weatherproof plastic container there. And they offer these with 2 different solar panel options, a 10 watt and a 20 watt. That's the difference between the 120 and the 120X. The X has the 20 watt panel. From what I've read, I recommend you go with the X. That's this series here. Supposedly the smaller 10 watt panel has a hard time keeping up with the capacity of the 2 batteries that's offered in the 120 series charger. Okay, now this particular Energizer will set you back about $400. I'll take you over by our chickens and show you their 60 series, which is a little cheaper but also has half the output. This is Premier One's IntelliShock 60 series. It uses a single battery in it, a 10 watt panel that you would have found on the regular 120, and these run about $285. This is the 3rd charger I've bought from Premier. I have one on these broiler chickens, I have the big boy on the pigs, and I have another one of these over on my sheep. I'm definitely a believer in their products. However, as much as I like Premier One, I was looking for something simpler to move our pigs around on the pasture. So therefore I'm going to unveil and behold the new ultra high-tech pig containment system found here at the Rose Family Homestead. Folks, this is about as simple as I can make it. I've had this up for approximately 2 weeks now. The pigs have done just fine on a single wire system. These are real cheap, inexpensive posts from Tractor Supply. They run about $2 a piece. And this here is their better grade of poly wire available at Tractor Supply. I think it's 656 feet for around $32, or you can get like 1,300 feet for 50 couple bucks. So relatively inexpensive. It has been working awesome, and so far I absolutely love it. Another downside to this Premier One fencing, and really all of their fencing, and it's not Premier One, well, maybe it is Premier One's fault. Just due to demand, and I don't know if COVID's played into it or not, availability on this stuff bites. I did check today, the 100-foot rolls of this particular fence are currently in stock. They go out of stock all the time. I've been trying to buy sheep fence for months, and they say, oh, it's back ordered until such and such date. You wait for that date to come, and then they keep extending it and extending it. It's terrible to try to get fencing purchased from them right now. Come on, here, pig. Come on, guys. Here, pig. Come on. Oh, a lot of running to do. And these guys will not challenge this wire. They will come right up to it, and they leave it alone. It's been great. They've maybe touched it by accident, but for the most part, they don't screw with it. If you're going to do your pigs on electric, whether it be a single strand wire or even the netting, don't let the netting give you a false sense of security. The pigs have to be trained to electric. You have to have them with a physical barrier, train them to electric, and then the electric becomes a mental barrier. That pig wants through that electric wire, it's going to get through the wire. You just got to train them up here that they don't want to fool with it. Now, on the flip side of that, I've clearly demonstrated to you that pigs are not hard to contain. Don't get wrapped up in the old school way of thought. I've had a lot of people tell me, I've read, that pigs have to be inside of a small fortress where they need to have 6-inch thick concrete and walls need to be buried 6 foot into the ground and all this craziness. If that's the old school way of doing things, and it's fine, but it's not necessary. Run yourself a wire, train them to electric in 48 hours, get yourself a good quality charger. I'm going to show you what you do not want for a charger to put on your livestock. All right, so this is a Tractor Supply solar charger. I don't think it has much of a battery storage. Its output joules are 0.15. Remember, that 60 series that you saw over there is 0.6, and that 120 is 1.2. This is 0.15 output joules. Now this thing is advertised to keep 10 miles of wire hot. I'm calling BS on that. And that 0.15 output just isn't enough to contain any livestock. This was a major waste of money for me, and it wasn't cheap. I know this thing was over $100 at Tractor Supply. I currently have a single line going around my, if you want to call it an orchard, there's about 11 fruit trees in here that are sort of half producing. It keeps the deer off of them, but as far as containing livestock, do not waste your money on something like this. Now, if you have the means, get your hogs out on pasture. It's great for them, it's great for your pasture. I'm going to get ready, I'm going to move these guys down to this lower area right below where they're currently contained. We're going to root all that up. This here currently looked like that down there about 2 weeks ago. They've been, like I said, 2 weeks on this. This is about how much you can expect to be rooted up by 5 pigs in this area. And I'm going to take you guys along and set up a fence down here on the lower end. I just simply took my tractor and mowed down a perimeter around this. And I'm going to step these posts in and run that single wire on around. And they'll have a nice new area where they can root up, find bugs and whatnot, and have some shade down here in these bushes, and they will be very happy piggies. Now, I know they make reels for this stuff, and that will probably be in my future whenever I go to incorporate this with our sheep. I think we're going to do a much larger paddock and do some strip grazing with the sheep. And whenever we go and we're starting to use, 1,500 feet of this at a time, I'm going to have a reel or two with me for that setup. I don't know if it's going to be important or not, but I'm going to spin these posts around to face inward to the paddock. All right, folks, so I have the fence post stepped in the whole way around the perimeter of this paddock, and now we're going to go ahead and run our wire. Okay guys, all I did to start this off was just loop around it twice and tie a simple square knot. Now, to help the wire hold nice and taut, every so often it seems to be a pretty good idea to go ahead and pull it nice and tight and wrap it around your pole a time or two with the wire nice and taut. Just like so, and then we can keep stringing. All right, well, there really isn't much to setting one of these up. We're gonna take a ground rod, hammer it in the ground. My soil's awful rocky, so it might take me a try or two. Use a rubber mallet. Knock it in there nice and deep. My ground clip is broke, so I have just a squeeze clamp here to hold it on to the ground rod. Positive. You just simply clip right on the wire. Turn it on and you're done. Now in this particular area, I'll come back by with the string trimmer and trim right underneath of this line. This was an area I did not hit with the mower, so it's going to need a little bit of attention with the trimmer to keep it from shorting out. Alright, so I just put some fresh feed in those couple troughs to try to coax them on over. Like I say, they do not want to cross the previous fence line. It took them a long time the first time I did this, but looks like they're making it out now. In all honesty, a lot of times they'll snack for just a little bit and then they'll be too busy foraging around in the grass. They'll just leave the troughs alone. Good looking, healthy pigs. Alright folks, so that pretty much sums it up. If you guys got anything from this, any kind of value at all, please do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe. If you're into this kind of thing, the regenerative agriculture, smaller scale, you know, stuff that you guys can realistically see yourselves getting into as beginning homesteaders, raising livestock for yourselves, and even potentially for customers like we're doing. Like you said, subscribe, follow us. I'll be putting out more content, and I hope to see you along the way.